I was home alone on an ordinary weekday, working from my kitchen when a van pulled up out front. Not a marked truck I recognized, a plain white van, the kind that could be anything, with a magnet sign on the door I couldn't quite read. A man got out in a high-vis vest with a lanyard, the whole costume, and he came up my walk and knocked. And the only thing that was strange, the only thing, was that I hadn't called anyone. No appointment, no outage. Nobody was coming to my house that day. I almost answered it anyway. That's the reflex, isn't it? A knock comes, you go open the door, you find out what it is. But I was on a call and I wasn't expecting a soul, so I just didn't get up. I figured he'd see no one was home and move on to the next house. That's what they do. You don't answer, they leave a tag, they go. So I stayed at my table and waited for the knock to stop and the van to pull away. But the van didn't pull away. He knocked again, harder, longer. And when I still didn't come, I heard him step off the porch. And instead of going back to the van, his footsteps went the other way. Along the front of the house, past the living room window. And I sat very still at my table and listened to a man I'd never called walk slowly down the side of my house, stopping at each window, looking in. My first thought was, the embarrassed one. He can see me. I'm being rude. I should just go wave him off. Don't be the weird one who hides from the cable guy. But something kept me in my seat. A working tech who gets no answer writes a slip and drives to the next address. He doesn't walk the side of your house, stopping at the glass of each window in turn. And I realized I'd already stopped breathing. I slid out of my chair and got low, away from the windows, into the hall where the light wouldn't catch me. And I tracked him by sound, the crunch of his boots on the gravel along the side. A pause at the dining room window, long, too long, his shape darkening the curtain for a moment, then on, around toward the back. He was doing a full circuit of my house, reading it, counting the doors, the windows, the locks, the one car in the driveway, the no one answering. I got my phone and I did not turn on a single light. I stood in the dark center of my own house, in the one spot with no window to it, and I listened to him come all the way around to the back. And at the back door he stopped, and he knocked there too, soft, almost friendly, on the glass. A backdoor knock at a house where no one had answered the front, from a man who by every rule of his job should already have been 3 streets away. I didn't answer the back either, and I heard him try the handle. Not hard, just a turn, a test, the small rattle of a locked door being checked. And then nothing, a long nothing, where I couldn't place him at all, which was worse than the footsteps, because at least the footsteps told me where he was. I stood in the dark holding my phone, not dialing, because what do you even say? A man knocked and walked around my house and tried my door. Then the boots came back along the side, toward the front, and I let myself think it was over. He's giving up. He's going. And I crept to the edge of the front window, staying behind the frame, to watch the van pull away so I could finally breathe. And he wasn't at the van. He'd stopped halfway up the side of the house, at the gray box where the lines come in, and he was standing there, looking at it, and looking back up at my windows. And for 1 second, his face came up and found the gap I was watching through. I don't know if he truly saw me or just the dark behind the glass, but he held there, looking right at the window I was pressed beside, close enough that I could see he wasn't checking equipment. He was deciding something. And I went so cold and so still that I could hear my own pulse, willing the dark to keep me, one pane of glass between his face and mine. He looked away first, down to the box, and he opened a pouch on his belt and took something out, and I couldn't see what until he raised it to the lines coming into my house. A pair of cutters, And I understood, a half second before he did it, exactly what he was about to do, and exactly why. He cut the line. One clean snip, and the cable dropped and swung loose against the wall. And he stepped back to look at his work, calm, unhurried, a man with all the time in the world, and I knew exactly what came next. Any second he'd come back to the front door and knock again, and this time he'd have a true thing to say. "Ma'am, I saw your lines down. I just need to come in for a minute to check the connection." And that's when a car turned into my driveway. My sister dropping off something she'd borrowed, no idea, no warning, just headlights swinging across the side of the house and tires on the gravel. And the man at the box changed in an instant. The cutters were gone, the pouch was shut, and he was walking, not running, walking, back toward his van, easy, casual, a tech wrapping up a call, lifting a hand to my sister like he belonged there, and pulling away down the street before she'd even gotten out of her car. My sister found me in a dark house with the lights off, shaking, and it took me a while to even explain it because nothing had happened that sounds like anything. A man knocked. He walked around. He cut a cable. I had the company out to fix the line, and no one had been dispatched to my address. No work order, no tech, nothing. Whoever that was had simply driven a white van into my afternoon and decided I'd do. For years, I'd opened my door for every knock because a knock felt like a question I owed an answer. After that day, it stopped feeling like that. A knock is just a sound now. I get to decide what it means. And I stopped opening the door for problems I didn't have until he arrived. My line's been fine ever since. I lived alone at the end of a quiet street, the last house before the road gave out into trees. Private, which I'd wanted. No close neighbors, no one's window looking into mine. In daylight, it felt like peace. What I hadn't thought about, not once in 2 years, was what private means after dark. It means no one's watching your house but you. It means if something happens at your door, the only person it happens to is you. It was just past dusk, that blue hour, and there was a knock at my front door. I wasn't expecting anyone, but a knock at dusk isn't a scary thing, so I went and opened it, with the chain on, out of habit more than fear. And there was a man on my step. Ordinary, 40s maybe, regular clothes, a slightly embarrassed smile, the look of someone who hates to bother you. "Hey, sorry to knock on you like this," he said. "My car died right up the road. Any chance I could use your phone for 2 minutes? Mine's dead too." And everything about it was reasonable. A dead car, a dead phone, a guy who just needs to call someone. I've been that guy. You want to help that guy. But I looked past him toward the road, and I couldn't see a car. Not where he'd pointed, not anywhere on my stretch of street. And it was a small thing, easy to explain. Maybe it died further down, around the bend. But I'd already felt the first cold threat of it, standing there with the chain on, looking at a man whose broken down car I couldn't see. So I did the thing you do. I didn't accuse him of anything. I just said, "I'll make the call for you. What's the number? Who do you want me to reach?" Keeping the chain on, keeping the phone in my hand on my side of the door. And he didn't like that. Not angrily, he covered it fast, but something passed over his face, a flicker, like I'd answered a question wrong. "It's okay," he said. "I kind of need to do it myself. It's complicated." And he glanced just for a second past me into the house. Not at me, behind me, reading the hall, the dark of the rooms, whether anyone else was in there. I said I was sorry. I couldn't let him in, but I was glad to call someone for him. And he backed off the step, all smiles again, hands up. No worries, I'll figure it out. Thanks anyway." Easy, gracious, Not a flicker of the man who'd been annoyed 2 seconds before. And he turned and walked back down my walk toward the road, and I shut the door and threw the bolt and felt foolish for my heart going so hard. He'd taken no for an answer. He'd left. That should have been the end of it. But I stood at the front window and watched because the car still bothered me. And he walked to the road, and he didn't go up it or down it. He didn't go to any car. He stopped at the edge of my property in the last of the light, and he looked back at the house. Not at the door, at the whole of it, side to side, top to bottom, the way you look at something you're working out. And then he stepped off the road, off the front, into the dark down the side of the house, toward the back. And the front of the house went quiet, and I lost him. No car door, no engine, no footsteps on the walk going away. Just the house, and the dark coming down, and somewhere out past my kitchen, a man I'd told no to, moving around to the part of my house with no light on it, and no road behind it, and no one in the world who'd see. And then there was a knock at the back door, soft, almost gentle. From the kitchen door that opens onto the dark yard, the one no visitor uses, the one you can't see from the street at all. He hadn't left. He'd gone around. And the front door story, the dead car, the dead phone, the call he had to make himself, every word of it had only been a way to stand on my step long enough to learn that I was alone and to find the door where being alone would matter. I did not go to the kitchen. I stood frozen in my hallway between the two doors, front bolted, back not, and I heard the handle of the back door move. A slow turn, the give and stop of a locked latch. Then the knock again, a little more insistent, and his voice, low, through the glass. Friendly still, that was the worst part. Still doing the nice guy voice. "Hey, you back there? I can see the light. Mind opening up a sec?" There was no light on back there. Nothing for him to see. He just wanted me to feel found, so I'd open up to stop being watched. And I almost did. Some animal part of me wanted to end the not knowing, to open the door and put a face on it and make it a conversation. The same part that had cracked the front with the chain on in the first place. Instead, I called for help, loud enough that he'd hear me doing it. And while it rang, I watched the back door handle through the kitchen. He tried it again, harder now, the door shuddering in the frame, a hand testing it for real this time. No more nice guy voice, just a man at the back of an isolated house, finding out how solid the lock was. I said, loud, into the phone, the address that there was a man trying to get in the back, saying it for him as much as for them, letting him hear that the quiet house wasn't quiet anymore. The handle stopped, and there was a stretch of silence where I couldn't tell if he was still pressed against the door or gone. I stayed in the hall with the phone to my ear, eyes on the back, not moving, not breathing, and then I heard him step off the back stoop. Not hurried, walking. The crunch of him going back down the side of the house, unbothered, like a man leaving a place he'd decided wasn't worth it tonight, and out toward the road, and gone into the dark before any help got near. When help finally came, there was no broken down car anywhere up or down that road. There never had been. Whoever he was, he walked off into the trees at the end of my street, and no one found him. And I never learned his face well enough to give anyone, because I'd spent the whole time looking past him for a car that didn't exist. The next morning, in daylight, I walked the back of my house, and in the soft dirt of the flower bed under my kitchen window, there were boot prints. Pressed in deep, close to the wall, right where someone would stand to look in or to wait. He'd been back there longer than the knock. He'd stood at my dark kitchen window for who knows how long before he ever knocked, watching the inside of the house I thought no one could see into. I still live at the end of that quiet street. I like the quiet, but I understand it now. Private doesn't mean safe. It means it's only ever you. So I put lights on the back of the house, real ones, the kind that come on by themselves. I cleared the side so there's nowhere to walk that the road can't see. And the chain isn't my whole plan anymore. When someone knocks now with a soft, sad, perfectly good reason for me to open up, I help them from my side of a locked door, or I don't help them at all. Because the reason was never the point. Now I answer the door I keep, not the one a stranger picks. It was a weeknight, late, dark already, and I was in for the night with the doors locked. I had a friend staying with me that week, upstairs, already gone to bed, which is the only reason I'm telling you this and not someone else. But I'd have forgotten she was even up there. As far as my own nerves were concerned that night, I was a woman alone in a house. When the knock came, that wasn't a normal knock. It was loud, urgent, not the polite tap of someone selling something, the hard, fast knock of someone who needs you now. And when I went to the door, there was a man on the step in a high-vis vest, a hard hat under his arm, a lanyard, a clipboard, the whole picture of a utility worker, and his face was set in real urgency. "Ma'am, we've got a gas leak on the block," he said fast. "It's serious. I need to come in and check your line right now, or you need to step outside, away from the house. Right now, it's not safe in there." And my whole body just did what he wanted. My heart went, my hand went to the lock, because a gas leak is the kind of fear that doesn't wait for you to think. You smell death you can't see, you picture the house going up, and every instinct says do what the man in the safety vest tells you. Get out, or let him in. Either one, just move. Anything but stand still behind a locked door, which all at once felt like the most dangerous place in the world to be. But I'd left the chain on when I cracked the door, again out of habit, and through that gap I asked the question that bought me everything. "Do I smell it? I don't smell any gas." And he didn't have a clean answer. "It's further down the line, you might not smell it yet. That's why it's dangerous," he said fast, already a half step closer. "You really need to let me in or come out, ma'am. We don't have time for this." We don't have time. Pushing the clock. Every word designed to get me to stop asking and start obeying. And there was no truck. I looked past him, the way you do, for the marked van, the flashing lights, the other crew you'd see for a real gas emergency on a whole block. And there was nothing. A dark street, no vehicle I could place, no neighbors out, no other doors being knocked, no evacuation happening anywhere but at my door. If there were truly a leak serious enough to clear houses, my whole street would be awake and lit and out on their lawns. It was just him. One man, one vest, one terrified woman, and a clock he kept saying we didn't have. So I did the thing that I think saved me. I didn't open it, and I didn't go out. I said, "My husband's right upstairs. Let me get him. He'll come down and deal with this." It wasn't even true, not the husband part, but I watched it hit him, and I watched it change him. Because a man alone with a scared woman is one situation, and a man about to have a second adult in the doorway is a completely different one. The urgency on his face flickered, just for a second, and under it I saw something cold and calculating do the math. And instead of saying, "Great, get him," like a real worker would, like anyone would want another set of hands for a gas leak, he got more urgent that I do it now, alone. "There's no time to go get anybody, ma'am. You need to open this door right now. Every second counts." pressing, leaning, trying to move me past the husband, past the chain, past my own held breath, back into pure fear where I wouldn't think. He did not want me to leave that door to go get anyone. He wanted me opening it this second by myself. That's when the fear flipped over into something clear and very cold. A real emergency wants more people, faster, safer. This man wanted fewer. He wanted me alone, and he wanted the door open, and he was running out of ways to make me do it with words. And I saw his eyes drop from my face to the chain, to the 4 inches of gap, to the little brass slide that was the only thing in the world between his urgency and the inside of my house. I started to close it, slow, steady, both hands, easing the door toward the frame, saying I was going to call the gas company myself to check. I'll call them right now, you can wait out there. Trying to give him a way to just be a real worker and step back. And he did not step back. As the gap narrowed, his whole tone dropped the costume, and he said low and flat, not urgent anymore, "Ma'am, open the door." No leak in it, no safety in it, just the 4 words underneath all the others, the ones he'd come to say. And he put his boot in the door, jammed it into the gap just as it was about to shut, and then his shoulder, his weight, the whole side of him driving against it, and the chain went bar tight and screamed in its little screws, and the wood groaned, and his arm came through the gap to the second knuckle, reaching, fingers spread, for the chain, for me, for the slide that was one good shove from tearing out of the frame. And I threw everything I had back against that door, feet sliding on the floor, holding a stranger out of my house with my whole body and 4 inches of chain. I screamed. Not words, just the loudest sound I have ever made, up into the house, out through the gap, into the dark street with no one in it. And he didn't stop. The pressure stayed, the arm stayed, a calm, awful strength on the other side that wasn't panicking, wasn't rushing, just leaning, steady, waiting for the chain to give, or for me to tire, the way you lean on a thing you know will break before you do. And I felt myself losing it. My socks on the hardwood, no purchase, the door coming open an inch, then another, the chain at the very end of what it could hold. His vest filling the gap now, the smell of him, that close. And I understood in a flat, clear way that the chain was going to lose, and that I could not keep a grown man out of my own house, and that there was no truck coming because there was no leak, because the only emergency on that block was him. And then a voice came down the stairs. "Hey, what's going on down there?" My friend, the one I'd half forgotten, woken by the screaming, her feet already on the steps, her voice carrying down into the hall. A second person, a witness, awake and coming. And the man felt it before I did. The weight came off the door all at once. The arm whipped back out of the gap, and through the 4 inches I saw him go from a man breaking in to a man leaving in the space of one breath, because everything he was doing only worked on someone alone. I slammed it and threw every lock and slid down the door to the floor. And through the window I watched him cross the lawn, not running, walking, fast and smooth, the clipboard still under his arm, the vest still on, a utility worker wrapping up a call in case anyone was watching from a window now. He went up the dark street in between 2 houses and was gone. And no truck pulled away because there was never a truck. And my friend got to the bottom of the stairs and found me on the floor holding the door I just barely kept. We called it in. No gas leak anywhere on the block. The gas company had no crews out, no reports, nothing. No truck, no work order, no man in a vest dispatched to any address near mine. He dressed himself in the one thing that makes fear obey and walked it up to my door. And no one found him. A vest and a hard hat and a clipboard are not a description. There was no plate, no name, no face I'd let myself look at long enough, because the whole time I'd been staring at the chain. Just a man who decided somewhere out there that my house that night was the one. And the next day, in the daylight, with the doors still locked, the rest of it came to me. The night before all this, there'd been another knock, early evening, nothing scary, a man in a vest, polite, routine. "Evening, ma'am, just here to check the meter, won't take a minute." And I'd pointed him around the side and thought nothing of it. The same vest, the same build, the same calm voice before it had any urgency in it. He hadn't come to my door for the first time that terrible night. He'd come back. He'd stood on my step the evening before, gentle and forgettable, to look at me and my locks and my street and to decide. The emergency was the second visit. The first one was the shopping. I don't open the door for emergencies anymore. That sounds wrong, I know. But a real crisis survives a locked door. The fire truck doesn't need the chain off. The real gas man is fine with you calling to check. It's only ever the fake one who can't wait the minute that costs him nothing. So now I slow down exactly when someone wants me to hurry, and I let them be insulted because the one time I didn't open the door, I'm still here. He'd even come the night before to pick me, and the only thing that beat him was a locked door and a second voice in the house. And let's never meet. 3 knocks. A man who cut my line so I'd have to let him in to fix it. A man with a dead car and a soft voice at the front who only wanted to learn the back. And a man who invented a leak loud enough that staying safe felt like dying, who'd already come the night before just to choose me. None of them broke a lock. None of them had to. Each one just handed me a reason to open my own door and stood there while I decided. So before you close the tab, ask yourself the quiet question. Of those 3, the broken thing, the small kind favor, the emergency that can't wait, which reason would have gotten your door open before you'd thought it through? Tell me in the comments. Subscribe so the next one reaches you before the next knock does. And the next time someone at your door gives you a very good reason to open it, one that breaks something, or begs a kindness, or won't let you wait, ask who decided you needed a reason at all.